I hadn't made it halfway through my first cup of coffee when I heard it. The awful, sticky rip of duct tape coming off wood. I look up, and there she is, Delilah Mercer, HOA royalty in a pastel pink tracksuit, peeling a neon orange sticker off my brand new fence, while Deputy Morales is still stapling the next one. She doesn't blink, doesn't hesitate, just flicks the court-ordered notice like a bug and says, "Bylaws are the law here, Ethan. The judge doesn't live in Willow Ridge Meadows. I do." If you've ever lived under an HOA, you know that sound travels straight to your blood pressure. I'm Ethan Cole. 2 years ago, I bought the last house on Sycamore Bend for the yard and the big old oak that throws shade like a church roof. I work with machines. Mind likes clean diagrams, hands like honest tools, and when I get mad, I don't yell first. I collect paper, which is good because Delilah fights with paper. She'll smile sweet and cut you with a paragraph. Our nonsense started over 3 feet of dirt. She slid the markers, grew her flower bed like it had always been there, and when I had the property resurveyed and set posts on the true line, that's when the fireworks began. I played it straight. Survey, lawyer, court. Judge Hartley read the chain of title, looked over her glasses like a school principal, and said, "Mr. Cole is correct." She ordered me to build the fence on the surveyed line, and, this is key, post bright, ugly notices that said, "Court order, do not remove for 90 days. It was a win. I slept for the first time in weeks. My girlfriend, Maya, night shift nurse, eyes kind and tired, kissed my cheek and said, "Maybe we get our lives back now." Then came that rip. Delilah not alone, of course. Her boys were flanking her like bookends. Austin, older, built like a vending machine, chewing a toothpick, and Blake, softer around the edges, more watchful, hands jammed in pockets like he wanted to hide his fingerprints from the day. She peels the first sticker, then the second, eyes on me the whole time. "Ma'am," Morales says, calm like a man used to domestic disputes that involve lawn flamingos. "Those stay. They clash with the aesthetic," Delilah chirps. Section 12, subsection C, unauthorized signage. I stay seated on the porch steps. Never stand up for a tyrant. You'll just make their stage taller. "That sticker's a judge's order," I tell her. "You yank one more, and you're not breaking a bylaw. You're breaking the law." She meets my eyes, sees the phone on the table recording, tiny red light blinking like a metronome. And for half a second I catch something that looks almost human. Then it's gone. "You'll be fined," she says, "for the unapproved fence, for the non-conforming signs, and for your hostile behavior toward the board." One more rip. One more orange ball of paper tossed at my feet. Then the Mercer parade exits down my legally verified lawn like they just christened a yacht. I sit there and let my coffee go cold, because this is the part where a younger version of me would have jumped the rail and made the local news. But the version that bought this house, the one that fell in love with early mornings and grocery lists and a woman who eats her cereal standing up because she's always late, that version breathes and decides to stop playing defense. The fines show up the next afternoon in a white envelope with the HOA crest embossed in gold. One of those classy touches that makes bad news feel like an invitation. 3 violations at $500 each. Unauthorized signage, the one she ripped down. Non-compliant fence, the one the judge ordered. And my personal favorite, creation of a hostile community environment. I read it at the back door because Maya is in the kitchen, humming to the radio while she chops carrots, and I don't want this poison near her for one more second than it has to be. She sees my face anyway. Bad. "It's a play," I say. A paper cut to the jugular. "Do we really do this, Ethan?" she asks, voice quiet. "Another fight? Another court? It's not about the dirt anymore," I tell her, and I mean it. It's about not letting a bully make a map everybody else has to follow. I take my briefcase to my neighbor Gus's house because Gus has wisdom and an entire platoon of plastic flamingos in his front yard and the kind of laugh that reminds you there's still oxygen in the world. He used to be a plumber and a union steward and has a way of squinting like he's looking for your punchline. "She cuts with paper," he says, polishing a flamingo with an old t-shirt. "Folks think you can't bleed from that. The Millers thought that. Now they rent in town, and Delilah, rents their house out through a shell company." "Not me," I tell him. He taps his temple. "Then don't just punch her crown. Punch her wallet." The board hearing is in the clubhouse, which smells like burnt coffee and last year's raffle tickets. A flimsy purple tablecloth tries hard to look like authority. Delilah sits in the center like a prom queen at a city council meeting, with her court on either side. Martha, nervous, always on the verge of tears. Bob, a retired accountant who sleeps with his eyes open, and Gary in a golf shirt who nods like a dashboard bobblehead. Austin and Blake stand along the back wall, arms crossed, practicing their tough guy faces for an audience that didn't buy tickets. When they finally call my name, I stand, walk to the shaky little lectern, and click open my briefcase. I hold up a glossy 8x10 of Delilah's manicured fingers in mid-rip, the orange court order, visible like a traffic cone in a snowstorm. The room leans forward. "This is your hand taking off a judge's notice, Delilah," I say, voice steady. "So explain to me like I'm new here. Am I being fined because the signs were up? Or because you tore them down?" "That's not what happened," she snaps, voice going shrill at the edges. "Those were non-compliant. Not bigger than this," I say, sliding out Judge Hartley's order. I read it aloud, slow enough that even Bob wakes up on the phrase "hereby ordered to erect a fence" and post the court's notices. Then I lift my eyes. "You hit me for 500 because I obeyed a judge. Then you hit me for 500 because you disobeyed that judge. The last 500? I guess that's for having a spine." There's a sound that's not quite a gasp and not quite a laugh. More like oxygen finding a door. I turn to the board. "If you uphold these fines, you are not just wrong, you are complicit. Contempt of court isn't a HOA line item. It's a criminal charge." Delilah slaps the table. "You're out of order. Or you're just hearing the word no for the first time in a decade," I say. I close the briefcase and head for the door. "You'll regret this," she hisses. "Maybe," I say without looking back. But I'm not the one who just committed my felony on tape. A week later, a guy in a cheap suit with a pockmarked face hands me a thick manila envelope and doesn't make eye contact. I know what it is before I split the flap, a civil summons. Delilah, on behalf of the HOA, is suing me for defamation, for aesthetically displeasing construction, for emotional distress, and petitioning the court to undo the property ruling like it's a parking ticket. Not small claims. Superior court. The kind that bleeds you before it even throws a punch. I call my lawyer, Alan Pierce. He's straightforward, good at telling me my odds without massaging my ego. "This is a slap," he says, "strategic lawsuit against public participation. Designed to shut you up. We can win, but she can make it take a year and 20 grand. The smart move? Settle. No admissions. Everyone goes home." I look at the picture of me and Maya on the mantle. Sand stuck to our calves, sunburned noses, laughing about nothing. And I hear my dad, who ran a lathe and served as a union shop steward for 30 years, say his favorite line. "There's nothing a bully hates more than a calendar and a ledger." I tell Alan no. We countersue for malicious prosecution and harassment, and we go to discovery. I say, "I want 10 years of books, contracts, emails. I want to see where the money goes." Alan exhales. The sigh turns into a low chuckle. "Then buckle up." 2 weeks later, my dining room looks like a supply closet exploded. 12 bankers' boxes arrive, then 4 more. 10 years of HOA life dumped in a pile. It's chaos on purpose. Invoices without letterheads, statements with half the pages missing, consulting fees to nowhere. I set up a grid. Maya comes home from a 12-hour shift, puts on sweats, sits down beside me, and starts highlighting like she's triaging a trauma ward. "Evergreen groundskeeping," she says, tapping a handwritten invoice. No address, no EIN, monthly for 7 years. Line by line, patterns rise out of the mess. One vendor keeps showing up, Meridian Property Services. The amounts are small enough to be forgettable, consistent enough to matter. 2,000 here, 3,000 there, death by 1,000 paper cuts. I search the state's corporate registry. No Meridian Property Services. Gus wanders by with a new lawn atrocity, a cast iron jockey with eyes like a raccoon, and I tell him it's like trying to nail smoke. He squints. Meridian. I remember a white work truck outside her house, back when she got that shiny silver SUV. Meridian Home Solutions. I only remember because the M was crooked on the door and it drove me nuts. I searched that. Bingo, Meridian Home Solutions, LLC. Registered agent and manager, Delilah Crow. Not Mercer. Her maiden name. My stomach does a slow flip that's half fury, half relief. We subpoena bank records. Money flows into Meridian from HOA accounts, then snakes out. Car payments, luxury hotel stays, cash withdrawals, and, my personal favorite, a steady rent check to a fancy downtown apartment. The leaseholder? Austin Mercer. The vending machine's got a penthouse. But the email server, that's where we find the hinge. Discovery gives us the board's email. Buried under calendar invites and passive-aggressive notes about trash cans is a 2-year-old thread. Blake, who briefly served as HOA secretary, wrote to his mother, "Hey Mom, I'm prepping the quarterly minutes and I can't find the contract for Meridian. Should these fees be listed somewhere?" Delilah replied in 10 minutes. "Legacy contract handled by the president's office. Not your concern. Focus on minutes." Blake pushed once more, soft but there. "For the official file, can I get a copy? Just to keep records clean." Delilah's next email is 3 sentences of ice. "Do not question my authority again. This is your only warning. Drop it. You know that feeling where your anger softens into something sharper? That's where I land. Austin is a bully in training wheels. But Blake, he's the weak link, maybe even the conscience. I don't want to ruin a kid who tried to do one thing right. I want him to help me in this." Alan's investigator, Frank, is a grizzled ex-cop with a mustache that could get its own zip code. He finds out Blake plays pickup hoops every Wednesday across town. No entourage, no HOA neighbors. I show up in a hoodie and jeans, let him get a rhythm, then catch him between free throws. "What do you want?" he asks, eyes hard but voice not there yet. 5 minutes, I say. "I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to show you something your name is already attached to." I hand him a thin folder. Meridian's corporate filing with Delilah Crow stamped right there. The bank transfers. The lease payments on Austin's apartment. And finally, that email chain. His words, his mother's reply. He sits on the bench like someone let the air out of him. "I knew. I mean, I didn't know, but I knew," he says quietly. "She told us this was about order. About standards. That you were the problem. You're out of time, Blake," I tell him. "The DA's office is going to look at this with or without you. If you help, you're a witness. If you don't, you're a suspect. I don't want you to go down with them." He stares at the court, at the crooked white line by his left foot, then nods once. "Tell me what to do." The hearing on Delilah's lawsuit is a circus from the first gavel. The courtroom is packed. Neighbors, a couple of reporters, Gus in the back row with a flamingo pin stuck to his denim jacket like he's cosplaying as himself. Delilah walks in like she's arriving at a gala, pearls perfect, hair sprayed into a helmet. Austin is a wall behind her. Blake sits 2 rows back, pale and determined. Judge Hartley takes the bench. Before the other side can warm up their opening statement, Alan is on his feet. "Your Honor, 2 preliminary matters," he says. "First, we have a new witness regarding the HOA's financial operations." Delilah's lawyer, slick, alligator smile, rolls his eyes. "We've received no notice. He came forward last night," Alan says. "He's here now." He gestures. Blake stands, throat working, and the room turns as one organism. Delilah's face goes through 3 emotions in 1 second. Confusion, recognition, betrayal. She looks smaller and more dangerous all at once. "Second," Alan continues, voice steady. "As of 9 this morning, we have delivered our discovery findings to the Economic Crimes Division of the County DA. They've opened a formal investigation into Ms. Mercer and others for embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. We request the court take judicial notice." For a half beat, there's silence thick as carpet. Then the courtroom erupts. The judge hammers her gavel into splinters of sound. Delilah stands so fast her chair skitters, points a shaking finger at Blake, and spits, "You ungrateful." Austin chooses violence because it's the only thing he's good at. He lunges across the aisle toward me, but the bailiff is already moving. 2 deputies have him face down in less time than it takes me to consider whether to move. He roars, a sound with no words in it. Delilah is crying and trying not to. Her lawyer's mouth works, but nothing comes out. Gus whispers, "Well, I'll be," to his flamingo pin. The judge calls a recess so the room can remember it's a court, not a reality show. Delilah's emergency injunction? Denied. Our anti-slap motion? Granted. Her suit gets dismissed with prejudice, and the cherry on top, she's ordered to pay my legal fees personally. The DA's office moves fast once they know where to look. Subpoenas fly. Frank's notes become sworn statements. Blake sits in a windowless room and tells the whole story, not because he hates his mother, but because he finally hates what she made him be. They arrest Delilah on a Wednesday. The news vans catch her leaving in handcuffs, screaming that she was protecting property values, which is not a recognized defense for wire fraud. Austin goes quietly because there's nowhere left to run. Gary resigns from the board with a statement that uses a lot of words that mean, "I liked power." Martha writes me a note that says, "I'm sorry," and leaves it on my porch with a plate of brownies I don't trust enough to eat. Bob sleeps through the whole thing like Rip Van Winkle and wakes up to a very different neighborhood. The HOA gets placed in receivership, which is a fancy way of saying grown-ups in the room. There's an emergency election. I don't run because I want to enjoy my porch without getting a migraine. But Gus does, on a platform of transparency and a total ban on beige paint. He wins by a landslide and celebrates by putting a flamingo by the clubhouse door just to see who complains. Maya and I drive to the courthouse to pick up the certified copy of the fee order, and on the way home, she sticks her hand out the window and laughs like the wind's got her attention again. That night we sleep 8 hours without the kind of dreams that feel like work. A month later, I'm back on my steps with a cup of coffee that doesn't taste like a dare. The fence holds steady. The orange stickers are bleached by the sun now. Edges curled, letters faded. I don't take them down. They're not warnings anymore. They're monuments. Not to how long we fought, but to how we chose to fight. On the record, above the board, without turning into the thing we hated. I see Blake sometimes at the grocery store. He's moved out of his mother's house, cut his hair, picked up shifts at a hardware store across town. We don't make a big thing of it. We nod, and that's enough. Austin pled out. Delilah's trial is on the calendar. That gavel is coming. People ask where the line is, between law and revenge, between being a good neighbor and being a doormat, between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity. I thought I knew. Then this happened, and I had to recalibrate. Revenge is about hurting someone. The target can change, and you'll still be hungry. Justice is about stopping the hurt. Once you've done that, you can eat your breakfast again. I didn't win because she lost. I won because I still recognize myself in the mirror when I brush my teeth. I keep one last copy of the video on a thumb drive in the junk drawer, not because I need to rewatch it, but because that little red recording light bought me time, and time bought me patience, and patience bought me a path out. On the gate by the driveway, I installed a fresh sign. Not neon, not ugly, just clear, private property. Court-protected boundary. Respect the line. Below it, in tiny letters only nosy people will read, I added, smile. We all learned something. And that's the story, told the only way I know how. Like we're on this porch together, and there's a second cup of coffee with your name on it. Now I'm curious, where do you think that line is? If it was your fence, your money, your sleep, would you have settled and cut your losses, or pushed all the way through discovery like I did? Are HOAs a necessary guardrail, or just a power trip? With Letterhead? Drop your take in the comments. Argue it out with each other. Just keep it civil. If you've got your own HOA saga, share it. If you've ever flipped a bully by pulling their receipts, I want to hear that too. And hey, if you think I went too far, or not far enough, say it. Justice, revenge, community, those words mean different things on different streets. Let's talk about where they met on mine.